Dude, pre-release was so cool. You got to check this card out.
Oh man, I definitely want to build around this in standard.
It's okay. I got you. And I got you guys as well, because I have built 3 decks using Aetherdrift cards.
Let's go.
Greetings, goblins and geist.
I'm Jake.
And I'm Blake.
And welcome to
The
Cloudpost, where we have new Magic the Gathering Arena videos every Friday. And as you heard, today is very special because Aetherdrift has hit Arena.
It certainly has, and we are excited to show you some really cool stuff that we have planned.
Without further ado, start your engines and race to the finish line.
Okay, guys, this might look a little different to you because we are here in Aether Hub, only because Arena hasn't updated yet and the cards aren't out there yet, so we figured we'd show you this first. So here's what we got.
Man, we are starting it off strong with Azorious Affinity. You know that the Cloudpost could not stay far away from building an artifact deck, and there are literal cards with the mechanic Affinity in this set.
It is crazy to see that ability come back around. It is an incredible mechanic, and oh my god, is it going to be so good in the new set.
I'm very eager to be playing this on the ladder, and this is kind of the starting point. And basically the whole idea with this deck is we are going to just flood the board with cheap artifacts, and the Affinity ability is actually going to make our big costed spells cheaper. So how do we want to start this one off, Blake?
I mean, let's just go through the 1-drops and build it up from there. So we're starting it off with Skrell because he's an artifact and he protects your creatures. We only have 2 of them in right now. I think he's just a good starter. So the idea with Affinity is you need to have a ton of creatures and artifacts on the battlefield as soon as you possibly can to be able to do the crazy things like the card Voyage Home, which we'll get to.
Yes.
But you need a lot of low-cost stuff.
Right.
And Skrell is probably one of the better things like that.
Sure, yeah. This is a high power level 1-drop that's going to give you the artifact payoff, and there's definitely other new ones that count as well. But we actually still wanted to include some ones that have been in artifact decks and standards, such as Ginger Brute and Spyglass Siren. These are both just giving you an artifact.
That's exactly right, and that artifact adds up towards the Affinity, which you need. So Ginger Brute's really powerful. Having the ability to swing in without being blocked is amazing. Nesting Bot is also one of the next cool things.
Oh yeah, this is a new one, and this is like Crawling Chorus, except this is a robot.
It is a robot, and it gets bigger if you have max speed. But the main reason we're running this is because it dies, and you get another one when it replaces itself when it dies.
Yeah, even if your opponent just deals with this on turn 1, you still have the same amount of artifacts in play. And probably the coolest 1-drop that is new is Voyager Glide Card.
This card is wild. Just crazy. When it enters, you scry 1, so it's already pretty powerful in that note. But also, it has like the similar effect to the current Ixalan card. Where
the Convoke champion essentially.
Yeah.
But yeah, you tap 3 untapped creatures you control, and this gets a +1/+1 counter, and yeah,
it becomes a creature until the end of turn as well.
Yep.
So it's just really powerful. It's for it being a 1-drop. That's a lot of busted abilities.
It is, yeah. It also gains flying. I mean, there's so much going on here. But yeah, you can basically just, play like turn 1 this and turn 2, Spyglass Siren plus Nesting Bot, and you're already in business.
Yeah, this has Crew 1 as well, so it's like pretty easy to turn on. Like, it's the easiest vehicle I've ever seen.
Yeah. Yep, Crew 1. So moving on, of course, we have another awesome new one. This is Medicant Core Guidelight.
This card is just a really cool robot. Like, it literally is the creature type, and his power is equal to the number of artifacts you control, which hopefully is a lot.
Yeah, this is where we're really starting to push the envelope, because this is not a all-in start your engines deck, but you get it either going with the Guidelight or Nesting Bot, and you're definitely going to pressure your opponent. You're probably going to damage them just about every turn. So you eventually will get to max speed. And the floor of this card is amazing for the deck because it's probably at least a 2-mana 3/3, 2-mana 4/4, or 4/3. But when you get to actually have that final ability, we've got some top-end artifacts that are just going to get gross.
Yes, and it's having the ability at all, even if it is late game, to copy one of your things is stupid powerful.
Definitely. We've got some interesting other ones that were in here. Glass Casket is still in standard for now, so why not?
Yeah, why not? Glass Casket is a removal spell for 2 mana, and it's an artifact, so it counts towards Affinity.
Yep.
It's a good card.
Counts towards Affinity. Moving down, we are back on Subterranean Schooner, because why wouldn't we be?
We will always love this little boat.
Yep, it's also a Crew 1.
It is a Crew 1. Easy.
Too easy. And then another new card, Diversion Unit.
Another new robot.
This is really sweet. I mean, it's a 2/1 flyer for 2, but it has that ability that like some blue creatures have had in the past where you sacrifice this to be a counter spell.
Yeah, and that's a powerful ability by itself. But the fact that it is just a flying 2/1 and is an artifact also helps towards affinity, also helps get the beats in, and it's easy to crew your other things with it as well.
Yep. So we definitely think that we need to be playing some number of that. Similar to Glass Casket, we're on unidentified hover ship.
Yeah, there is one more thing I want to mention with this card.
Yeah.
You can use this card to crew a thing, or you can swing with it, and you can still sack it after that. You don't have to tap it. It's just one blue extra you have.
Yeah.
That's it. Too easy. But yeah, unidentified hovership is still a very, very powerful card, and it's a removal spell on a stick, and it's a big flying stick at that. So
and it also has crew 1.
Exactly.
So all of our 1 mana Dirtle cards that just help us for affinity, they are going to have something to do while they're on the board.
They certainly will. They will animate our vehicles, and they will swing for days.
And speaking of 1-drops, what about a 0-drop?
How about a 0-drop? Exactly. Leyline Axe. So you might be wondering, why Leyline Axe? Well, it's a 0-drop artifact. If you have it in your opening hand, it comes in the battlefield automatically, which also helps towards affinity. You're going to hear me say it a ton. But it's just a busted little card. Like,
yeah,
if you are able to make your little nesting bot a big old monster that can swing with double strike and trample, it's not bad. Like,
yeah, I mean the best thing obviously is going to be the med core.
Yeah, if you can give that double strike and
the men core rather.
Yeah, if you Mendicant, whatever his name is.
Yeah.
You can give him a Leyline Axe, dude. He's going to like go for the fences. It's going to be insane.
Yeah, I mean if you just go turn 0 Leyline Axe, put it in play, play just say like a nesting bot, and then turn 2 play your Guidelight, you've already got 3 artifacts in play, so it is a 3/3.
Yep.
And then as long as you make your land drop, you just equip it next turn and start going to town. I mean,
shoot, if you have a Skrelv, you can make them unblockable.
Yep.
That's part of the reason.
There's a lot going on with that.
Very
and now
cool.
finally, last but not least, we actually have the cards with Affinity. So for newer players, if you've never seen Affinity before, there's some other things in standard with Affinity, like Affinity for enchantments is even, I think, in. But yeah, it just makes it where this card costs less to cast based off the number of artifacts you have or whatever the affinity is for.
Yes.
So the goal with this is for this Memory Guardian to be just a 2 or 1 mana 3/4 flyer,
which is very powerful. Just a good little guy.
Yep. 3/4 flying. And then we have the new Thoughtcast. I mean, this card just looks so cool. Voyage Home.
Voyage Home, man. Draw 3 cards, gain 3 life. It's 5 and 2 mana, which is pretty crazy. That's a very expensive cost. But if we are lucky enough to be able to play this like in a later part of the game, when we have like 3 or 4 artifacts out, we will certainly be getting this as an insane ability, refilling the hand and just continuing to, blow the game out from there.
Yeah, and I think it's a really interesting design, giving it that gain 3 life, just because like against a lot of the aggro decks in standard, normally taking off if you have to spend 3 or 4 mana on this to draw your 3 cards, you probably would, you feel like you're just not affecting the board and, you're going to get punished. But yeah, I like the gain 3 life in addition to it.
I think I wouldn't say necessary, but it really matters. It does. That gain 3 life will actually like stall out the game just long enough for you to be able to win it. And this can be used in a plethora of decks, all based off artifacts, but we just wanted to go with a more aggressive build. Mainly because of this cool Kai.
Right.
Right here. This guy is awesome. And
he
is a legendary, so you have to be careful with that.
You do. But after the first time you cast Voyage Home, I think, it's the same as Affinity decks played in the past, where the first time you do this, everything gets easier after that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It's definitely going to make it so much easier to be able to cast your other things, because you're just going to fill your hand up with more artifacts.
Yeah, because say you do this on turn, 4, would be probably like the reasonable time, which is like, a Leyline Axe in your opener, and you play artifacts every turn following up to this. But then once you do this, then you probably drew more artifacts and you just get to flood the board even more, and then it's probably 2 mana from then on out.
Oh yeah, and then if you just would it cycle into the next one, oh man, it's just going to be so good.
Yeah. So let's talk about the mana base. We decided to go with a pretty aggressive mana base here. We're only playing 18 lands.
We do have a new land in there.
We do though, so we can start with that. The Muruganda Raceway is pretty interesting here.
We went with 2 of just because we didn't want to come off the colors too heavily, because you do need the white and the blue in the deck. Especially for mostly everything. But if you do happen to get max speed, this acts as an ancient tomb, if you will.
Right. It becomes a no drawback soul land, which is the nickname for lands that give you 2 colorless. There have been a number of them in the history of Magic. Most of the time they have a pretty aggressive drawback, but this does have to be max speed, so it's not just that automatically. But it's neat. This is a start your engines in a land.
Yeah, this helps you be able to cast your search for home
Right.
easier, and it's just a cool card overall. It is a test card, so whether or not it becomes something amazing, we will find out. But I think it's good enough to have a 2 of in the.
Yeah. Other than that, you just got all your fixing lands and 2 of each of your basics. So let's talk about the sideboard.
Yeah.
This is just a very quickly thrown together sideboard mostly, but there are some new cards in here.
We're back on Spell Pierce.
We're very happy to re-welcome back Spell Pierce, because this is assuredly going to be good against either board wipes that your opponents are going to do or the Pixie deck.
Yeah, or the Pixie deck, exactly. I think this particular card was needed to come back into Standard. I could do a whole video on that alone.
Right.
But Spell Pierce is really, really good in almost every Affinity deck I've ever played, from Modern to here, to even in Legacy and pieces like that. But this card is incredible, and you need it for this aggro kind of build.
Totally.
Going along with this card, we have another 1-drop, Ghost Vacuum, but you guys already know this one.
Yeah, you already know this one, but I mean, this is an Affinity deck, so this is a good card to run. We have another new card.
Nice, Seer's Chariot.
Yes.
It's a crazy looking art right here, but this set got a lot of crazy art. This is a cool little vehicle. It comes in, enters, choose an on-land card name. Right, so pick anything you want. You can pick things from the Pixie deck, and it makes the stuff cost 2 more mana to activate.
Yeah, the activated abilities. So there's not like a ton of activated abilities in Standard, but there are some.
I like it on the Otter Maker. What the heck?
The Storm Chaser's talent.
That's it.
So it does make it, Storm Chaser's talent, even Hopeless Nightmare, it makes the activated ability more. But anytime your opponent has like activated abilities against, you could even maybe argue this against Gruul, against the Innkeeper's talent. I mean, there's things to do with this, and then it's a 3/3 flying artifact.
Yep, with Crew 2, which should be easy enough with this deck.
Totally. Against Control, we have some Cryptic Coats here.
Cryptic Coat has performed very well in my playtesting against any of the Control variants. To be fair, there's not a ton of them out there. I think there will be now, but the card's just really good. Having an unblockable creature is also really good. I mean, shoot, it's just a powerful card.
Totally, this is a fun card. And then Steel Seraph is like, this is a big hitter, but you really wanted it in there against like decks you need to race.
Yes, Steel Seraph is really just put in for the lifelink more than anything else. Most of your stuff already has flying. Giving it Vigilance isn't bad either if you needed to have blockers, but it's really for the flying or the lifelink. And if you happen to have 6 mana, well, I mean, you have a big ass 5/4.
Right, and also this is not that bad to give a Leyline Axe to.
No, it's not.
So that's the first one. We are just super eager to be testing this. Affinity is back, but we've got some other decks that we know you will love as well.
So stick around.
And on to the next deck. This is a very popular strategy that Blake has done many times on the channel, but it's got a lot of new tools.
It certainly does. We're on Golgari Delirium. You guys have asked for this deck to return to the channel. It did very well for you, or a lot of people did really well with it, climbing to Mythic. So it's also a different iteration of Golgari. People are playing Glissa and stuff. This is something completely off the cuff. So we have 4 Patchwork Beasties. Is your idea is still to use Delirium, so you're going to be milling yourself a bit. We got some new pieces for that as well, which is really cool.
Yeah, this is still a nice, perfectly costed, aggressive creature. It's a 2-type card, being an artifact and a creature, so the ones that are in your graveyard are just fueling you.
Certainly are. Going to the next card, Cut Down. I think it's a necessity for you to play in the current Standard meta. We'll see how that changes with the new cards that are coming out. So
yeah, we got a lot of like, this actually ended up in a place where we were putting this together and the instant count was low. So we were like, well, man, let's just pump up the Cut Down. I mean, it's going to be good.
It's very true. And you also want to keep in mind, you have to, like he said, our instant count was low. We need to have every type in this particular build for Delirium.
Yes.
So then you have Osseous Stick Twister, which is one of my new favorite cards.
This card has been so good, and yeah, I've loved playing with it. Once that you get this unlocked, it just puts your opponent in an uncomfortable position.
It really does, and it overperforms every time. I love this card. If you aren't running this, you should try it out and see what you think, and I guarantee you'll come back being like, dang, this card performed really, really well.
It's also another 2-type creature, artifact, and creature in the graveyard.
It certainly is, and we got a lot of artifacts, so we're going to be happy to see them when they hit the graveyard. Next thing is Bitter Triumph. I liked having one of these in my main board. It's really good against killing planeswalkers like Kaido and or the opposing Lily.
Yeah.
But also being able to ditch the thing that you need for Delirium to trigger is amazing.
Totally. Now, the next 2 cards, 2 new 2-drops for this. I'm really excited about both of them. Quag Feast is a very interesting sorcery removal spell.
Yeah, so the deck originally had, I think its weakest slot was sorceries,
Mm-hmm.
and when I saw this card, I was like, why is it so good? So you will be milling yourself with this card, and you will destroy target permanent if the target permanent once
Yeah.
again, not just creature. If the mana value is less than the number of cards in your graveyard, which hey, that's going to be easy. We
Right.
got mill every turn. We got Patchwork BC. We got Overlord of the Belmerk. We got some new cards as well, which we're going to show you. But the fact that this already mills 2 cards, most of the time you are going to hit. Well, you're always going to hit a 2-drop.
Right, creature, planeswalker, but also it does say vehicle, which, you know, if we're going to just see a bunch of vehicles, then you don't want to be able to deal with them.
Yeah, it's just good. This card is good.
So that's awesome. And then Dredger's Insight is a powerful enchantment that we are going to bring into the fold here.
It certainly is. Before, the only enchantment we had in the deck, I believe, was just Overlord of the Belmerk. So
right, and there was like one of
Deadweight.
Deadweight, but like this is going to power out your enchantments.
It certainly will. So one or more artifact and or creatures leave your graveyard, you gain 1 life. So that's kind of good at combos, soft combo with Belmerk. We can pull creatures back from the graveyard to your hand. You'll gain a life for that. It's good against the red decks.
But more importantly, this enters and it mills you 4 cards, and you can put an artifact, creature, or land from among the milled cards to your hand. I think this is, other than, say, Overlord of the Belmerk, I mean, and this is giving you more options, but like this is one of the best self-mill cards I've seen in a long time.
I think it might be like the best one I've seen in years.
Yeah. I mean, it's giving me Grizzly Salvage vibes. It's not an instant, but I mean,
you get
it's
more
doing
options,
a lot.
Though.
Yeah,
you get
artifact, creature, or land.
And this also stays in the field and is able to give you a separate effect that you like. So I think it's just good.
Very cool.
Move on to the next card.
Yep. So you got the powerhouse of the deck. You still got to be on it, right? I mean,
this card is so good, dude. Omnivorous Flytrap, super powerful card. It doesn't die to the neg 3 stuff. It is going to be an insanely massive creature so quickly, and it can also pump any other creature you have. So
yeah, this card, if you haven't cast and attacked with one of these, you're missing out.
I think if you're going to run Stick Twister, you kind of have to run this card because they soft combo really well together. If you make the Stick Twister bigger, then it has the trigger at the end of every turn to ping your opponent for that much damage, equal to its power if they don't do something about it.
And lifelink, not a 0%, you know, relevant ability there.
No, it's no joke indeed. Next is one of my classic favorite planeswalkers. I think Lily of the Veil is still very good in this particular build.
Yeah.
Plus, it is a type 4 Delirium.
Yes, it is a planeswalker that if you mill it, it's going to matter. The previous iteration of just the Golgari list, we didn't run. We only ran 2 of the Swarm Weaver, but this card just continues to be like massive when you have it in play.
I think it's just like one of the best Delirium payoffs for any Golgari build. I've even seen people just run it out of the ordinary just because it's powerful and makes 2/1/1 20.
Yeah.
Like, regardless of Delirium, still a good card.
Still a good card. Drag to the Roots would also fall into that category. It's also just in here too because it's a critical number of like an instant as well.
It is, and it's probably the best instant you can use in this particular build.
Right.
I will say be wary when you go into your second and third matches, because if they do affect your graveyard, this card becomes worse.
Yes, it becomes 4 mana. And therefore not as powerful. We couldn't probably put this together. We couldn't resist. We had to put in some new Debris Beetles.
Siege Rhino is back. If you don't know what that card is, it pretty much is the same effect here. When it enters, your opponent loses 3 life and you gain 3 life. Now, this card I think is better than the Rhino in my particular. I don't know. That's me being judgmental on the Rhino.
It's tough. If you don't remember Rhino was the same mana value. It was 4, but it was Abzan and 1.
Yeah.
And it was a 4/5 trample.
Yeah.
Whereas this is a 6/6 trample, but it's a vehicle.
But the crew 2 is easy to do, and you can crew it with Beastie, even if Beastie is offline. I don't know. I think this card's going to be really good. In fact, I actually speculate that I'm going to want probably a 4 of in the long term. This is just going to be a test card for now, but it just looks really good. It looks really, really good.
And I pointed out to Blake, it seems like it's going to pair very well with Flytrap, because Flytrap is a 2/4 at minimum. And then it can crew Debris Beetle, which is already trample. So when you start going to town with Flytrap, it seems like a really good target.
It certainly does. Giving that thing more counters and just beating in with trample is really good.
Indeed. And we have, of course, Overlord of the Belmerk.
Yeah, this is the necessity for the deck. Obviously, you need to have this for triggering Delirium. Also, it brings creatures back. If you hit a Swarm Weaver, you can bring it back, and then you can kill it, and you can bring it back, and you can kill it. And it's like, oh, man. This thing becomes insane.
This is also one of the ways you can get your Lilianas back.
Yeah, exactly that.
Which is super cool. So moving on to the lands, we pretty much kept very similar lands, except now Golgari has a Verge.
Golgari has a Verge, dude. The mana base gets better.
Yeah.
Going through the list, it's pretty simple. It's pretty spelled out. I do like having Fable Passage in there. I'm indifferent because I only run 2 basics. It's weird, but I don't hate it going to the graveyard.
Right.
So
it's a fetch land.
It's a fetch land, but do with it what you will. You could take it out, leave it in, up to you. I do run 4 underground mortuaries just because you are wanting to get your surveil on and put all those things in the graveyard.
So, and you do need some number of these because it counts for swamp and forest for your Verge.
It does. And that's just the thing, is the Verge is going to be coming online easily for the mortuary. So other than that, you do have 3 Restless Cottage, and the only reason I run the Restless Cottage is because it's such a powerful creature land. I'm okay with sometimes going down on a turn, going offline for a second just to be able to have this out, because later on it will win the game for me. Matters what you're playing against.
Right.
So, like I said, do with that information what you will. It might be too many tap lands for you, so pick and pull the basics out and put in what you think is best. And checking out the sideboard.
We kept it similar to some things we've done in the past.
We have. But
there's a really cool new card.
There is. I try not to change too much because I think the green has a lot of powerful stuff, but a lot of it does the same thing. I think looking at Tranquil Throwback, for example,
yes,
that card is just still good, and now there's a ton of vehicles. So how
yeah,
can it not
there's a ton of artifacts, right? So it's going to be good. We kept in the Balustrade Worm. I just really like this card, but
it's really good against control, which also might be a thing again. So I was skeptical of taking it out. I was like, I think we should still run it, try it again. It performed well the first time.
Yep, and we've got Duress still in the deck.
That we do.
Kind of self-explanatory. Other graveyard hate other than Tranquil Throwback is going to be Soul Guide Lantern.
We want to be able to have an artifact in our graveyard, so that's the reason we don't want to run Ghost Vacuum here. Also, this does destroy the entire graveyard, or exile the entirety of the graveyard, not just one card at a time.
Right. But if we draw this in our opening hand, unlike Ghost Vacuum, it's easier for us to put it in the graveyard if we need to unlock Delirium.
Exactly.
And then the new card, which is really sweet, is Intimidation Tactics.
Intimidation Tactics. This card is very tempting to put in the main deck because it's a sorcery that has cycling. And what a crazy card it is.
Man, yeah. The second I saw this, I was like, Blake, they finally did it.
They made a good
discard spell that has cycling.
They do.
Because, a
good one.
The really worst part about Duress, of course, is if you draw it on like turn 6. And if your opponent has no cards in hand, then it's a very bad card. And they've undone this here for the first time. Now, this isn't Thoughtseize.
No, it's only artifact or creature, but that's a lot of cards, and it exiles that card.
It exiles it. So, yeah, this is doing a whole lot. Doing a lot of heavy lifting. I'm eager to see how this plays out in Standard and probably other formats.
As am I.
And then Terra Sunder to round it all out.
Terra Sunder to round it all out, because this card can kill anything. This is one of those things that when I mentioned earlier with the Drag to the Roots, you might just want to switch it out in the second game no matter what, if you know your opponent's going to have graveyard hate. And I've done that really well. You just kind of think about that ahead.
Yeah, I mean, you could very easily just take your drags out and put in Terra Sunder.
Yep, and there's only 2, so you do the flip-flop. Otherwise, this is the deck. If you can, if you like what you see here, let us know down in the comments. We do have one more for you. Last but not least, we have Orzhov Gods, or God Orzhov.
Oh yeah.
All right. So this deck is something different. We decided to put together a Orzhov mid-range deck that is really based off the new God Ketramos.
Yes. The entire deck here is built around Ketramos, the New Dawn, which is, of course, a legendary creature. It is a god. 3 mana 4/4. It's got Menace, it's got Lifelink, it's got Indestructible, but it can't attack unless there are 7 or more cards in exile. And more importantly, this is just an indestructible. You can think about it as an indestructible engine that's just going to sit in play because of that final ability, which is whenever 1 or more cards are put into exile from either graveyards or the battlefield, during our turn, we get to draw a card and lose a life, and we can do that as many times we want on our turn.
It's pretty good, and we're going to basically try to abuse this ability as much as possible. We're less concerned about turning him on as a creature, but more about, hey, this is a really good enchantment that is just going to constantly draw us cards.
Right.
So going through the deck, we just have a lot of blink effects and value cards. So,
yes, we want a bunch of creatures. We want basically every creature to have some enter the battlefield payoff.
Yes. And
starting that off, we have Novice Inspector, which for 1 mana, you're hard-pressed to find a better payoff with an ETB.
Yeah, if you guys know one, please let us know down in the comments, because I think he's the best.
Totally. Now, we are a mid-range deck, so that's the only 1-drop we have. But we've got a lot of interesting cards here. We've got Parting Gust, which is either a removal spell or a blink card.
Yes, you can use it to blink your creatures, or if you really need to hate on an opponent's thing, you get rid of it.
Totally. Charming Prince fits right in. This is like totally just a super high synergy blink card.
Yeah, this is one of the coolest reprints they did for Foundations. This card's incredible though. Like having 3 different options: Scry 2, Gain 3, Exile a thing, Blink a thing. Like, come on, this card's good.
This card's good. We are gonna Sheltered by Ghost as one of our removal spells because again, if you have Ketramos in play
Exiles
and you
it.
sheltered something, you're gonna also draw a card, which seems really sweet.
Yes, it is. It's just good. It replaces itself. That's the coolest thing about this deck.
Yeah,
So-
and unless your opponent has Exile, even if you can't swing with it yet, if you just want to be safe, you can have Ketramos out and put the Sheltered onto Ketramos because it is a creature, and then it's indestructible plus Ward 2, and you still get the payoff.
Yep, it seems pretty good to me. We also have Helpful Hunter.
Yeah.
It's pretty much the new doggo. It enters, draw a card. Say less.
Yep, say less. We're going to blink it a bunch and draw like a million cards. We want our removal, as we have been saying, to exile, and what better way than Anoint right now?
Anoint is very, very good in standard, and it exiles a thing. Don't even need to have Corrupted. Don't worry about Corrupted. Just exile the thing. It's fine.
Yeah. Split Skin Doll.
This is something that I personally love. I think this card is very good in this particular build because we have a ton of 1 and 2 drops that are about power 2 or less. So you just draw a card.
Right. Every creature that we've talked about thus far enables this.
Yep. Draw a card. We like drawing cards. It's good stuff.
We have another deck with a Hovership, like the Affinity list we showed.
Yeah, we like Hovership. This card's a removal spell, and guess what it does? It exiles things.
So it triggers Ketramos.
Duh.
Legions also does that as well.
Legions to Ashes, if you're lucky, can hit multiple things, but it is an exile card, and it gets rid of anything.
Yep, that's just a catch-all. We have one of Fortune Loyal Steed. We started with more of these, but I mean, we couldn't part our, whole deck without having one.
Yeah, this card is really, really good as a ETB effect. Scrying 2 is powerful, and the fact that it's able to even do that as well, if you crew it, it's cool. It's a cool card, man.
Yeah, it blinks. It blinks things itself. And it's so easily saddled. It's saddled by Novice Inspector or Helpful Hunter,
which you can just blink. So easy peasy.
It's awesome.
Yep.
So we have 2 of them actually, and then one of main deck Lauren.
That's what we flipped to 1.
Yeah.
We flipped to one Lauren. She's a very powerful creature. You're probably gonna want more of them, so they're in the sideboard. Don't worry, we do have them. We know artifacts are a thing, and blinking Lauren doesn't feel bad at all.
Yeah, and blowing up, people's lords like the Mistmoors and Hauntwoods and
all
the Overlords.
All good things. So this has like a little bit of the piece of it being a Hate Bears deck, which you can kind of see there. But going up to Guardian of Gifer, if you haven't seen this card before, it is from Marching Machine, and it enters, or when it enters, you can exile one of your things, and then bring it back.
Yeah,
which
really
also
cool.
works for the Hovership.
Yes, because it says Artifact as well.
Yes.
So super cool synergies here. We talked about Ketramos, the build around, and we just have a few more cards. Salvation Swan is a techie one of.
If you remember the card Restoration Angel, this is its predecessor. Is that right?
No, predecessors before, but this is this is the latest evolution of it.
Sure. What I meant is this creature is very similar to Restoration Angel. Not as good, but it's very close, and you can hit pretty much every other creature in your deck and just bounce it. Saved by any removal spell and anything like that, and once again it exiles a card, so you'll draw a card.
It's flash. It's super cool. And then we had to include two of main deck Beza because Beza is probably like
the best blink target.
The best blink target in standard. So I mean, there you have it. That is the main list. We're gonna see how it goes. We've got the lands to talk about now. And we do get a Verge.
We got a Verge. Black-white Verge seems pretty good.
Yeah, every pair has a Verge now, so that's pretty cool. You still got Courtyard, Caves, and then we did, Blake did want to include Restless Fortress and Shadowy Back. I wanted to include Shadowy Backstreet. I do think that this deck is going to be slow enough to where if you don't have Novice Inspector in your opener, you would love the Shadowy Backstreet.
Exactly. That card's just really powerful. And also, I mean, playing Restless Fortress on turn 1 and not having something else to play is fine.
Yeah, and this starts as a swamp, so we have 4 planes, and we're mostly a white deck. But we have, we actually have plenty of swamps and planes here to unlock it. So this should be pretty good.
And the Backstreet counts as well.
Right.
To the sideboard we go.
Oh yeah.
There we see a lot more, I would say, Hateberry like cards, where we have Authority of the Councils for anything that's just very hard to race, like Convoke or something like that. It might just be the best card for that.
Yeah,
we put in
there's
a few
still
of
people
those.
playing Urbrask Forge. You can neutralize that.
Certainly can. That card's very good. So we have 3 of those in there. 3 Ghost Vacuums because graveyard shenanigans are real. We're playing
And
them.
also this, you may just put in sometimes if you just need to hyper unlock Ketramos as a creature,
Yes.
because you're just going to start exiling things. There's probably going to be some Ketramos builds where their main decking goes vacuum, but we just went more of the value route with the deck.
Yeah.
So tell us what you think in the comments.
Yeah, I mean, the card's just going to be really easy to unlock with that. We have Blot Out. Blot Out is probably one of the weaker cards in the sideboard, honestly, but the fact that it's able to hit a creature or a planeswalker, it matters.
Yeah, there's still going to be plenty of people playing Kaito, Bane of Nightmares, and it's going to be good there. You can go up to 3 Lauren.
Oh, we can go up to 4 Lauren.
Oh yeah, we got all 3 in the sideboard.
Like,
so despite it being a legend, if you're playing against Beanstalk deck, you're probably going to put this in.
If you're playing against artifacts or vehicles or any of that new jazz, this is going to kill it.
Yeah,
it's just going to kill it.
And
Flanker.
Yeah, I like Flanker. It's a flexible one. You probably would still throw these in against mono red, even just for gain life and scry, and have that as a repeatable ability on the board.
Yeah, it's just the techie tool piece we wanted to have in the deck. Plus, it's easy to blink and it gives you more value for that.
Yep, and even that first ability, most people think of it as like you do this after a sweeper, but because we're a blink deck, you can actually just make it a big flanker if you need.
Yeah, you have a 5/3 flanker, just beat somebody down. Next is the end. Once again, this card is just for exiling away crazy in pieces like Atraxa or etc. You name it. But hey, if you hit that, then you hit how many of them? Hit 4.
Right.
That's 4 cards exiled. That's why we wanted to run one of these.
Yeah.
Honestly, you could probably go up one of these, but I didn't want to put it in the main. It's just a heavy cost card, but it's very powerful in the sideboard.
Totally. And then you can go up to 4 Beza.
Yep, because why would you not?
Yeah. So those are, you would put in like Flanker, Authority of the Councils, and Beza against mono red, most likely.
That's exactly right. If we lose to mono red with this build, I'm probably going to cry on camera. So you guys can, get excited for that.
But there you have it, God Orzhov, and those are 3 decks new from the Cloudpost. You know how to get these. Blake will have these links in the description of the video below.
To this website here.
To this website, Aetherhub, and you can have them on your very own arena.
Come on down, download these decks for yourself. They'll be ready for you guys, I believe, on Fridays. Or no, they're going live on Tuesday. They'll already be live. I'm just being goofy.
There you go.
Yep. All right. Well, with that being said, we will see you next Friday.